Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
2 in the box. Ready to go. We be fast. They be slow.
Cool.
All right, and we're recording. Thank you, and welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast. I am Nary Signs. With me, as usual, is Jeff.
What it do?
Today we have a couple of special guests. First and foremost, we have a newbie, a first time on the podcast. We have Mike Valdes.
What's up?
Local comedian Mike Valdes, and from Alabama, all the way from the great state of Alabama, we have Daniel DiBona.
Hello.
Which is he's of the What's Good podcast. How's that going?
Oh, that's right. You're a comedian.
So, anyways, Daniel is a longtime friend. Daniel and I actually got acquainted because I would listen to the show that he was on at that time that I flat out stole, which is now Mt.Geekmore. Back then, it was the Mount Rushmore podcast, and they were very nice. They were very nice enough to have me on their podcast. So then I was able to be on the last episode. I don't know if you know this, DiBona. I was on the last episode that aired of the Mount Rushmore podcast.
I do know that. Yeah, that's when I wasn't hosting anymore, but I was just producing.
Right, and I was also from the same makers of Mount Rushmore. I was also on the very last episode of TV Life with our friend Dan. Who's also on the Mount Rushmore podcast. And so apparently, if y'all want me to end the show, you just have me on, and it'll be the last episode that you guys ever fucking do on whatever show you guys got. So they became friends of ours. The whole Mount Rushmore became, it was all through the internet. We've actually never physically met, but through social media, it's like we've met, and we're all good. And this is his first time on the show, so I'm very happy, very excited to have both of you newbies on the show. But absolutely, man. So, anyways, today's episode. Let me go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, he was going to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I'm really happy to be doing this. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, so I'm hyped.
Yeah, great.
All
man.
right.
I'm hyped to have you on here, man. So the usual intro goes, welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where we take the top 4, the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of your favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject is favorite TV law enforcement officers or agents or whatever the hell.
Peoples of power.
People that have a badge and stuff. If you have a badge, if you're in a badge and you ain't in a movie, you good, man. You good. If you got TV credits, you can roll with us.
I'm happy we're doing this because I've been kind of pushing this topic for a while. I've been like,
I don't remember you ever pushing the topic. I know we brought it up in like very vague conversations, but I don't remember. The moment you brought it up today, I was like, yeah, let's do that.
I always kept mentioning it, and then it was like, no, let's do this one. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I guess we'll do this later.
No, that's fine.
So I'm happy. I'm really excited about this.
All right, man. Anyways, so let's go. We go around the room and we talk about how we came up with our list. Jeff, how did you come up with your list?
So I literally wrote down every character from the shows that I enjoyed. I limited myself on certain shows to one character from that show. I just picked the best because there's a couple of shows that I probably could have made them out and just on the characters from those shows. So I decided to just limit myself to one. But I mean, there's just so many that we ran the gambit on this one because we didn't put a caveat on no animated or anything like that. So this is completely fair game.
I think my only caveat was that he was, and I know this sounds stupid, that he was an actual law enforcement officer in the show. and the example that I gave was Burt Macklin. He wasn't. So it sounds weird because they're not actual law enforcement. You know what I mean, so it's like, no, he was a fake law enforcement officer.
You shut that shit down real quick because I was like, that was the first thing when Neary was like, "Hey, let's do this topic." I like it. I go, "Cool." The Burt Macklin counts, right?
No. Fuck. He wasn't a real. Again,
he's real to me.
It's stupid to say because none of these are real, but you get what I'm saying. He wasn't.
He was a fake cop on a fake show. He was fake twice.
Yeah, I needed a real cop in a fake. I needed him to be a real fake cop. I can't have you be a fake cop. You're out of your mind.
Oh my God, that's true. Because Johnny Karate, he was Burt Macklin. Fuck. Damn it.
So, anyways, so that was your criteria. Mike, how did you make your selection?
Well, for me, I don't really watch a lot of cop shows, but I'm also a very unconventional person in a lot of ways. So I was like, well, there's certain TV shows that have cop characters. So then I started thinking of those kinds of television shows, and that's how I got most of my answers here.
All right.
Yeah.
Daniel, DiBona?
This was tough for me. Without turning this into a political podcast, not a huge fan of cops in real life. So,
well, you live in Alabama, so that makes sense. Your story checks out, DiBona.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm white, so they don't mess with me too much here. Still not a fan, though.
Must be great to be white.
So, yeah, I know. Had to pay off eventually, right?
I miss you so much, DiBona.
So I kicked around a lot of names. I ended up settling just on cops. When I started looking at like agents from a lot of different things, it started to get real murky. So I stuck with just cops. And the way my list kind of came out was 1 super iconic, 2 that are really relatable, and 1 that I just feel would have been a shame if nobody mentioned. So if you were ever a Rush 4 listener, I do have a TJ pick on here.
Oh yeah, TJ.
But so like I said, just 1 that I wanted to talk about, 2 that are super relatable, and 1 that I think is just a ridiculously iconic TV cop.
I like it.
Yeah, man, that's it. I made the only kind of self-imposed rules I made on myself is only 1 from a particular show. Right. So if I was gonna pick 1, if it happened to be a cop show, not all of these are cop shows, but if it happened to be a cop show, I'm not gonna pick 2 I'm not gonna pick multiple from the same cop show. So you have to just choose 1. Again, my own self-made limitation, and
we're all just saying that so we didn't end up making the Mount Rushmore of Law and Order cops, right? Like we put that out on the table.
Well,
now.
to me, it was gonna be I was gonna just make a Brooklyn Nine-Nine mountain, and then I was like,
right. That's where I was going with it.
Yeah, I was like, you should probably limit yourself to just 1, man.
So. See, I could have easily done a Law and Order cops only one, so I limited myself to 1.
Yeah. I like it. Well, I'm curious to see where we get because there was hotly contested.
There was 4 Law and Order shows, right?
Right, but there's only one show that the one that really had like the iconic, which was the Law and Order SVU. That's the one that.
See, I disagree, but we're gonna talk about that later.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
And there's another Law and Order that whenever I think of Law and Order, I think of 1 specific
Criminal
character.
Intent.
No. That's another. I mean, I also think of that one as well. I think of that one before Olivia. Let's be honest. We all know who the fuck we're talking about,
right?
Here. But I think of Kingpin before Olivia, and then
Kingpin.
Yeah, and then I think of Barry's dad over. Oh fuck, he's a cop in that show.
Yeah, criminal. That's criminal.
Barry's dad, the cop.
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Do you know what you're saying, Miri?
Son of a bitch. I just tipped my hand. All right, so let's start off with... All right, hold on.
With the 4th pick.
Number 4. Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives' crack. Let's get it on.
All right, number 4. Jeffrey, what do we have for your number 4 pick?
All right, DiBona talked about iconic police officers. So my number 4 is Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911.
Nice.
All right, I gotta jump in here with you and just let you know that's also my number 4. So
yeah.
So with you,
yeah.
Dangle is my number 4 as well.
Lieutenant Dangle is one of the most fantastic characters on any cop show. I'm sorry. The shorts, the boots, the
roller skating, the rollerblading episode was so fun. Like he, Jesus,
he and it's just because you can always tell that he means well, but he doesn't know how to do things properly, and just the interactions he has, that like they never really say he's gay until later on.
Yeah.
But you always see like him with what's his name, DiBona? Jones.
Yeah.
he's always doing like the flirting with him.
There was one episode where he got a big bust, and so they promoted him to like another department or whatever.
Yeah.
And then in that same episode at the end, he came back, and then he like a business as usual, like he didn't leave.
I think it was like the Marshals or something.
I forgot something like that.
Yeah,
and they were like,
he got promoted to the Marshals.
Yeah, and then they were like, so they realized you were gay. Like, yep, kick me out immediately.
He's such a great character in the fact that there was never any question that he was gay. Like it wasn't like he was ever closeted. Like it was just spectacular in that aspect, and he was just so funny. And one of the best things about Jim Dangle was there was always that air that he was in charge, even though he possibly knew less of what was going on than anyone else except for Trudy.
Yeah,
and his constant flirting with Jones, like just everything he did was always so funny and so memorable. Like, do you guys remember the time when they heavily insinuated that Jones had sex with him and it put him in the hospital because he couldn't walk?
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
There was an episode, and at the end, Jones is like, "Well, I'll try anything once," and then it does like a post stinger, and it's Dangle in the hospital, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't walk now." And it's like, oh my god! Like,
so,
and that was just such a great. I loved it. That show as a whole, I loved that it was just it was a 100% parody of Cops. Just in every aspect of it, it felt so great, and he was always the driving force that kept it alive.
See, I was late to that show to some extent, not years late, but I was like maybe season 2 or whatever, and I just kept seeing like clips on the internet. That was back when you would see clips on the internet, and you would think it's a real clip. And I remember the first clip that I saw of the show was of a traffic stop by Wendy McClellan Covey, where she pulled a guy over and the guy was walking the line.
Oh, to dance?
Yeah,
the
and then he
one?
started dancing. He's like, "What about 1-2 step, 1-2 step?" All this, and she's like, "Oh, are you a dancer?" And he's like, "No, I'm just drunk." And he's like, "All right." So when that whole thing was shot in the way a dash cam,
it was Cops.
Like it was like Cops. And so when I saw that video, I thought it was a real video, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking hilarious! What? Like, is this like I thought it was a real story and shit?" And then they were like, "No, it's a TV show," and I gotta watch the show now. So that was my introduction to that show. So to me, as much as I love Dango and I love all these characters are great, but to me I was always focusing on Wendy McClellan's character. Just that was where
we were all focused.
Yeah. But I mean, I know we're doing the TV show side of it, but even like the Reno 911 movie
was fucking great.
Was what like they were able to transition it, and it was fucking. To me, I loved it. A lot of people thought it was bad.
I thought it was great.
I fucking.
And The Rock was in it. It was fucking great.
Yeah, but Dangle's just when you think of Reno 911, Dangle's usually the first person that you think of on there.
Just new boot goofing, man.
New boot goofing.
One of the things about Dangle that I always loved was the concept that he just put up with the fact that Trudy was madly in love with him, even though he was gay, because she was brain damaged.
Yes.
So, it was like he just let her, live her little fantasy, and he never really shit on it too bad. Like I always thought that was really endearing with Dangle.
And the thing is, Thomas Lennon, he's such a great actor. Like, I mean, from The State and everything like that. So when I saw that he was doing that show, I was in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess me and DiBona's number 4 is Dangle.
All right.
Absolutely.
Mike?
My number 4 is probably a character that is going to be tabled for sure. It's Detective Jake Peralta.
Oh man, that's one that I had on my list, and I changed it for another character on that show. So
yeah, I am not tabling that because I also have a different character from that show.
Fair enough. I love Jake Peralta just because he's just a lovable idiot, man. Like he's just like, and not only that, sometimes his like the dumb things that he does are sometimes the reason why they solve things.
Well, what I love about in a lot of these characters that are, you know, that TV shows that are like, you know, less than smart, they do goofy things.
Yeah.
But I really love when TV shows portray people that know what they're doing, and he's actually a really good detective.
Yeah.
He's like a smart bro.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. He's a smart bro.
And in the very first episode of the series, we see him and Amy having a competition of who can close out the most arrests in a month.
Yep.
And so I love when like Michael Scott is a very, very not likable character, right? But what I love about him, well, season 3 he becomes lovable, but when they show him being a good salesman or being a good manager or whatever, like when those very few glimpses you get, you're like, oh, okay, I fucking get it now.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
Right.
And I like Jake Peralta, man. I love he's funny and he's never takes anything too serious. And then but that show's fantastic. The whole show.
Yeah, and I'm also just a huge Andy Samberg fan as well. Like I just think that dude's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Jake Peralta, like, and then not to mention the fact that like one of my favorite things with Jake Peralta is that his hero is John McClane.
Yes.
And they did the whole Die Hard, you know, he did that the movie in his head.
Oh, the intro.
The intro.
When they were going from Fox to NBC, one of the promos was it was like a minute long, like basically him being John McClane, and then it cuts to reality, and they're like, and then I'll say,
join the NYPD.
Join the NYPD, and they're like, no, we're just gonna that's not gonna happen. But it was a great clip.
And then like his wedding cake was Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes, that was fucking great. Wasn't that fantastic?
Like Jake Peralta is one of those characters that, like you said, he does stupid stuff, and he's not always on top of it, but you always know that he's smart enough that he's gonna figure it out.
Of course, yeah.
You know,
and not only that, I also think it's really funny that he's like really scared of his boss. Like, because who wouldn't be of that dude?
Yeah. Like, there's that whole father thing that he's like absentee father, so he's looking at that's great, man.
That he calls him dad.
Yeah,
he keeps calling him dad throughout the thing. Did you just call him dad? No.
Fantastic.
That's a great pick, though.
I'm super late to the Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, I'm just now starting Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like, in the past month.
Oh.
I know I'm super late
man, you know what? Welcome, brother.
Yeah,
welcome.
Man.
It's going to be...
Are you liking it?
I'm enjoying it so far.
Good, yeah.
I'm kind of envious of, like, people like that, because I'm like, oh, you get to watch it for the first time and you get to go through 6 seasons? Like, just, fuck, man. I that was great. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. It's a great run. All right, so, DiBona, you said that you had Lieutenant Dango as well.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So, and then my number 4 is Vic Mackey from The Shield.
I never saw that show.
Ooh.
Me neither. Is that the dude that looks like a wiener?
That's the Thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Michael
Yeah.
Chitlis.
Yeah.
Michael Chitlis, or as we call him, the commish.
Yeah.
I was going to say we're going to pretend he's not the commish.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the commish.
Commish.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I forgot about the commish.
And if there was any character, if you've ever watched the commish, I would say watch the commish. Like, if there was somebody that had infinite amount of time, watch the commish and then watch The Shield right after. And it's hilarious because it's the vice. It's so opposite. The entire show is phenomenal. I would put that show up there right underneath Breaking Bad, like The Wire type of, like, that's how great that show is.
That stuff,
But he's a dirty cop. He's fucking dirty.
What was his name again?
Vic Mackey. Detective Vic Mackey.
Vic Mackey.
Yeah, so he's a dirty cop, but he plays the perfect anti-hero because he still believes that he's a good cop, but he does shit that's illegal, but he believes that that it justifies at the end. Like, he believes that, like, oh, these, like, so he'll beat the shit out of somebody for a confession, but he knows that person did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but he just can't prove it, but he's not about to let that dirtbag or that child molester go back out on the street. And he's not one of those guys that lets, stuff like, legality or the law get in his fucking way of arresting that guy. So, but it's a banana show.
And he was a super interesting character in the fact that you always found yourself appalled at how relatable he was.
Yeah.
Like when you watch The Shield, you're like, oh man, this guy is awful. And then you think about the things he's doing and you're like, maybe if I had power like that, I'd have the balls to swing it like that. You know, you find yourself getting into these situations where you're like, well, I mean, I get it. What he did was wrong, but he means to an end type thing. And you end up really feeling and relating for Vic Mackey, which you then feel horrible about because the dude is a complete and total piece of shit.
Yeah, he is. It's one of those things where, you know, everything from his personal life to the way he is as a cop, like but he gets shit done. Like it's one of those things where he cleans up the streets and it's very much in the vein of, and he's not as dirty as Alonzo from Training Day, because Alonzo for Training Day was just out for himself.
Right.
Like he doesn't give a fuck about, you know, bettering society. Vic Mackey will tell you that he puts, you know, he has all these arrests and all these things, but he doesn't get there the quote unquote right way. So it's a very, you know, he's a great anti-hero. He doesn't do he's like DiBona said, he's fucking dirty. He's a, you know, despicable human being, but fuck, you watch the show and you're like, all right, I never found myself writing him off. I never said, fuck this guy, I don't want to watch this show because this guy's that much of a prick. I never found myself doing that. And truth be told, I'm still on the last season. Like I think that season, I think there's 5 seasons of that show if I'm not mistaken, or whatever the number is. Let's say it's 5. I've watched the first 4 seasons. I've binged the first 4 seasons like 3 separate times, and then every time it gets to the 5th season, I do this on purpose to multiple shows where I don't want to finish the season because once I finish it, I know the show's over and I won't get any more. And then it goes years, and I go, fuck, I should go back and watch the whole thing again because now I forgot what happened. Yeah, right. Glenn Close was in season 2, and she was his boss, and that dynamic was fucking bananas.
Well, Glenn Close is fucking amazing.
She's the fucking best. She was so good, dude. So anyways, Vic Mackey is my number 4.
All right.
All right, so we have our number 4s are we have Lieutenant Dango from Reno 911, we have Detective Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and we also have Lieutenant Dango from Reno 911 and Vic Mackey from The Shield. So that's our number 4s.
Did you hang up on DiBona?
No, he hung up on me.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He cheated. He's like, fuck you, I'm done.
Yeah, he was like, fuck Vic Mackey. Are you out of your fucking mind? I'm assuming he's going to call back. He was outside. That
Neri,
wind thing was...
Would you mind turning my headphones down just a little
down
bit?
where you are... is that better?
Yes.
All right.
So much better.
All right. Sorry, man. Is that why you weren't talking? You're like, I'm going through so much pain.
I'm dying right now.
Is it better?
It's perfect, yeah.
I think we got to wait for the DiBona to call back. Hold on.
See, he talked shit about the cops and they went over there.
I know.
What'd you say, boy?
Man, we ain't got shit to do.
All right, there he is. He's calling back.
There he is.
All right.
Was it that bad of a pick, DiBona?
You were talking to Shield, and then the sun signal at my house is weird sometimes. I'm closer to the router now. I should be good.
Oh, all right.
All good.
Man. All right. So we are going to
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
You appreciate that one, DiBona, huh?
Yeah.
That was my contribution.
Yes, it was. All right, so we have number 3 picks. Jeff, who do you have for number 3?
Number 3 is my only federal officer that is on my list, and that is Jethro Gibbs from NCIS. Mark Harmon.
How do you spell Jethro? Wait, I'm asking the guy from Alabama. How do you spell Jethro?
I got where you were going with that.
NCIS is one of those guilty pleasures of mine. It's been going on for God knows how many years now. I think it's in like.
Is it the original NCIS?
Yeah, yeah, the original NCIS. Mark Harmon from Summer School fame.
I know that was a previous pick on like 3 episodes ago. He picked Summer School. Yeah, he literally Jeff picked Summer School for one of the best movies of '92, whatever.
We did summer movies.
Oh yeah, movies. Yeah, best summer movies, and then
I'm sorry. Did you not see Summer School?
I did. I'm not saying it was a bad pick. I'm just saying that this is the second time.
DiBona's losing his shit with Summer School.
I don't know if I'd pick that movie if it was 4 movies with the word summer in the title.
I fucking love that movie.
500 Days of Summer, Endless Summer.
I did mention Endless Summer as an honorable mention.
Summer's Eve.
Summer's Eve. But Jethro Gibbs, I just love because he's the leader of the team. He has to deal with all these personalities like in a lot of these shows, but he always manages to keep his cool, even though that team goes through so much throughout all those seasons. They lose team members in horrific ways. Some get disappeared. Like the one thing going right now is with Ziva, that she had left, and so I think she came back. I haven't been following recently because, like I said, it's been
I mean, the show goes on forever,
right?
But like one of those things like, I love The Simpsons. Oh, did you see season 27? No, no, sorry.
But like Jethro Gibbs always had this cool, and it's NCIS, so like it's got the Navy aspect with it, and like I just really love that his character, that he even when he's frazzled, he's not frazzled, if that makes sense. Like he always seems to have stuff in the right frame of mind to be able to pull everybody together, to keep everything in line and just get to where they need to go, and I just love the interactions he has with the team, and I love that show. That's a show that my dad and I used to watch when I was still living with my dad. Like we would watch that show for like all the time. That was the one that we watched together.
Yeah.
So
I'm not mad at the pick. I used to watch NCIS mainly for goth CSI chick.
Oh yeah.
But,
Abby.
Crime Lab Abby. Like that was the main reason I watched. But he's a really good boss. Like he's always he's very intuitive with his people and understands what they need and how to motivate them individually. And I would almost be more likely to put him on a list of good bosses than good TV cops.
Well,
I don't like him because he hits his employees over the head. And my father-in-law watches that fucking show, and then he starts fucking hitting people over the head, including me. And I'm like, hey, I'm a fucking grown-ass man. I got kids. Can you stop hitting me over the fucking head? And I don't tell him that. I say that in my internally, and then I just take it out on my wife, like every fucking man does. But so I blame Jethro for that. So you're blame him.
Sorry.
That's what I'm doing. Right.
No, and that you did mention a good point, DiBona, that with Abby, his interactions with Abby are always amazing because she kind of looks up to him like that father figure, and he always knows with him and Ducky too. Like the interactions with him and Ducky, the him and Abby, like it's always, like you said, he's a good boss. I guess kind of you're right. It might be more of a good boss than a good cop, but agent wise, I love Jethro Gibbs, so that's my number 3.
All right, nice. So that's number 3. Mike, what do you got for your number 3?
My number 3 is a officer from one of my favorite sitcoms. It's Officer Carl Otis Winslow.
Yeah,
like it.
All right,
I like it.
Yeah. That's right. Now, here's my question: is it Officer Winslow or Sergeant or Lieutenant Winslow?
Yeah,
because he gets promoted.
Yeah, he gets promoted twice on that show.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it goes kind of back to what you were saying about Jake Peralta, where when he's doing his job, he's the best at doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but also like we see the issues that he has when he comes home, essentially. Like he obviously has anger issues, but it's because of the neighbor, obviously.
Right.
Well, when your neighbors steal your show,
it
becomes an issue.
Right.
It becomes an issue.
Yeah. When he obviously did something and keeps asking, "Did I do that?" And you're just like, "Come on."
Yes, you did. I have a gun.
How can you build a time machine, but you don't know you fucking did that? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah.
I know how to hide bodies.
Yeah. Did you not drink enough Cool Juice this time, Steve? But yeah, I love Family Matters, and it's no pun intended, it was kind of a cop out for me to say Carl Winslow, but yeah, I love Carl Winslow.
And I know with Carl Winslow, like I still remember to this day that episode where he goes into that cafe because his son got pulled over.
Yep.
And has that like the racism argument.
I don't remember that one.
With I don't know, DiBona, do you remember that one too?
I remember something similar, but I remember it from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That's the one I'm remembering.
Right.
Yeah.
The one with Dean Cain?
Yeah, with Dean.
when they're in the jail, the prison cell.
No,
That's a different world.
that's different
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a different world.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Dean Cain was in.
Sorry,
he was
he
a racist
probably was.
character in two
He probably,
shows.
but no, but yeah, he. So
Yeah, no, they
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, DiBona.
Okay, yeah, they did an episode of Fresh Prince where they got pulled over for driving too slow, and they were black in a nice car in a rich neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
So they got pulled over.
Right, because they were transporting the car for one of Uncle Phil's friends.
Yeah. To Palm
Yeah.
Springs.
Right. So, no, but they did a similar thing where Eddie gets pulled over by these two cops, and he basically has the talk with them of why did you pull him over? And it was their moment, like that Fresh Prince moment
All
of
right, right on.
shining the light on it. And
My best friend is a huge Family Matters guy, and when I say huge, I mean like the canned laughter that they have.
Yeah.
That's
He's-
him.
He's in it.
That's him. That's the whole time. He's in the canned laughter. Like
Yeah.
but he's legitimately finds it funny, and I love watching that show. And I haven't done it in 15 years, but I love watching that show with him.
Yeah.
Because it makes it funnier. I'm like, I just laugh. You know what I mean? Like laughter's contagious. I'm like, oh man, he's having a great time. This shit is funny. Yeah.
Right.
And it's like that cheesy, corny family laughter, but he's laughing like he's legitimately laughing. So yeah.
To bring it to a real moment, kind of, it's like I feel like TV shows don't really do these like very special episodes anymore because they're afraid of what are people going to think? What's McDonald's going to think if we make a racism episode? But it's like, but it is a problem, so maybe we should do it.
Well, Brooklyn Nine-Nine did a episode in the last season, and this is not a spoiler, DiBona, because by the time you'll get there, you'll forget about this. It's all right, but it's a woman. It's like the shit that women deal with in the work.
Oh yeah.
And it was one of those. And again, they make it funny. They made it funny, so it's fine. But Blackish does that a lot, where it's very topical. It's very like about the problems in society, but they make it funny. So I think it's that. But you're right. They don't have that. They don't have that music. They had that in
Gerard Carmichael show. They did that for a little bit.
Jamar Carmichael show.
Yeah, he had.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He did shows about like
but it was like, but was it? Here's my question, because the Blackish does it and they do it in a funny way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I'm thinking about are shows like Different Strokes, where they have that child pornography episode where nothing in that episode was funny. There's like zero laughter and like it's always like a 3 episode arc where you're like, we haven't laughed for 3 fucking weeks. Different Strokes. Like there's a situation. And I get it. I totally get it. It's child pornography. Like this. And then the other one, he gets kidnapped. Sam gets kidnapped. Who had it? Roseanne, back before, like the original Roseanne show, had like those serious. All in the Family had the one where Edith Bunker almost got raped. And it was like, I know what you mean.
God,
It was like real. Like, oh, this is fucking.
Yep.
Thank you, situational comedy.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So here's my question about Carl Winslow.
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to the theory that Carl Winslow is the cop in Die Hard, and he had a really bad day and was like, I can't take the West Coast anymore. I'm going home to Chicago.
I mean, it would only make Die Hard better, so yes.
It's so funny.
If not, then what the hell are we fighting for?
Yeah.
just one terrible day, and he's like, forget this.
Bro.
I'm out. Going home. I'm going to go live with my mama. I'm done with this.
And he brought her the teddy bear.
I'm going to go live with my wife, who's an elevator attendant for the Perfect Strangers, guys.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's a great pick. Carl Winslow's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Carl Winslow is great. I was having this conversation with Dave, our usual panelist, who couldn't make it today, and he was like, yeah, but do we actually see him be a cop? And I rattled off like 3 specific instances, and they're like, okay, but aside from that one, I go, what about this other one? He goes, aside from those 2, and what about this other one? He goes, okay, so we've seen him be a cop a couple times, I guess. And I was like, I don't think you watch the show, man. You should watch the fucking show.
He's like always in a cop costume.
Always he's always in a uniform.
Yeah.
So.
I call it a costume, so I'm a theater guy. It's a costume.
It's so.
Please don't pull me over, officer. Your costume looks so nice.
That might be why I didn't get a ticket.
Oh, you went to South Beach. That's nice. All right. So DiBona, who do you have for your number 3?
All right, I am going to go the complete, total, and opposite end of the spectrum from Carl Winslow on my number 3, and I'm going to go with Rustin Spencer Cole from the first season of True Detective, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, wow.
That's a great pick.
Great fucking pick.
That's a great pick.
Holy shit, I didn't think about
I
that.
haven't finished that season.
Really?
In one season, True Detective managed to build this insanely dynamic character with an incredibly tragic backstory, who is generally and always smartest man in the room, and created what was just one of the most fascinating, not just TV cops, but television characters of all time.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had this insane backstory of how a meth head had killed his daughter, and so he starts going undercover to do drug busts. Then they spin the whole story about how he became the guy that they could count on for the super deep cover drug bust, because he would actually do drugs to continue to stay undercover. And all of this backstory and you see the progression in the very first episode. You start off and you see him as this old grizzled drunk guy who's obsessed with the one who got away, but then you also see him in his first case as the accountant. I think is what the tax man. The tax man is what they called him. And he's got that huge ledger where he's just taking notes, and he's got it all together, and he's this perfect cop in what he's trying to do. He was great because he was flawed. He had so many problems, but he always fought through them, and he was always doing what he thought was best for the case. He was very detail driven. And there was just something about him that made him just this incredible character. He was the reason that you wanted to know. Like, yeah, there was the whole insane story and time is a flat circle and all of that kept everybody watching. Woody Harrelson was great in that show, but Matthew McConaughey as Russ drove that show from
it started the reconnaissance.
Yeah, it drove in a Lincoln. And you know why? Because he's been driving that Lincoln before he was famous. Before he got paid.
You know why? Because he keeps getting older, but they just stay the same.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
All the Lincolns stay the same. They're all the same car.
That's fantastic. I gotta finish that season, man. I gotta finish that show.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good, and that show just as a whole, season 2 was a dumpster fire, but season 3 kind of bounced back. But I mean, that first season is for a one-run like miniseries. Like, if you eliminate all other seasons of True Detective and you look at that as a miniseries, or in comics we call them a one-shot. Mm-hmm. If you look at it from that perspective, that is some of the best television that's ever been, is that first season of True Detective. And this is why, was because of Russ. He was spectacular in that show.
I love that pick. That's great.
Great pick, man. Great pick. I've seen a couple episodes, and I see nothing to argue against it.
Especially Alexandra Daddario. Wait, what?
Oh, my God, yes.
Oh, my God.
Welcome to 3 old creepy guys talking about a young hot chick.
She's 20
young guy that's really uncomfortable right now.
And a guy who hasn't been around me long enough to be okay with it.
I gotta go.
Yeah, all right.
All right, Neri, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Captain Holt from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Table.
Yes.
Table. All right, so we're tabling. All right. Captain Holt. And that's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So we have, for our number 3s, we have Jethro Gibbs from NCIS. We have Lieutenant Carl Winslow from Family Matters, Detective Russ Cole from True Detective, and Captain Holt from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I took it off. Why did I take it off?
Oh, you really?
Oh.
Nice job, Neri. Messing it up.
All right. Sorry. It's there.
Round 2.
Dose, the sequel to Uno.
All right. So for number 2s, Jeff, what do you got? What do you got?
It's so fancy. Like Lewis and I Lewis and I used to have to do all the sound effects with our mouth, and then I went in and post and just dubbed it on top of it.
No, DiBona, we literally got this mixer like 2 months ago. Like this is not. This is a brand new thing. This is like literally. I'm still a kid with a new toy in Christmas. I'm like, hey, I get to do sound effects. Like this is the exact reason why I bought this mixer was just for these. They're like, oh, what are the megahertz? I'm like, cool. But the buttons, right? You could do sound effects.
Right.
That's all I give a fuck
But like
about.
hotkey
6 different
sounds,
farts.
I need lasers.
Yeah. I need. When I get really excited, I want to be able to. That's a thing, right?
I was literally just about to say, tell me there's a Jamaican air horn button. All right, we're good.
So yeah, I get and if you, I'm waiting for somebody to make a shitty pick because I got one of those buttons. I'm waiting for one of you to make a shitty pick. So
All right. Do you want me to make a shitty pick right now?
Well, all right.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
No, actually, I didn't want to take away from your song and dance, but Captain Holt's my number 2.
All right, right on, man. Captain Holt.
Captain Holt is probably by leaps and bounds my favorite character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. To me, it's a tough. To me, it's 1A and 1B between him and Jake Peralta.
Jake,
honestly,
I mean, I love Jake, but just the deliveries of Captain Holt, and he's that like that soft spoken that even when he's like joking and laughing, he's like, that was hilarious. Look at me, I'm laughing.
That's the funniest
like that's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And then there's just that one. There was like that one episode when they were all guessing why Amy was late. And they were like Jake was saying like she was having sex with a mole man or something, and he's like, no, she's probably went to go to the bank, and there was a delay in the line, and everybody's like, no, get out of here, blah blah. She shows up and she says, yeah, well, there was an issue at the bank, and he just goes, hot damn. Like
I like my favorite is when he goes vindication.
Yeah,
that's my favorite fucking Holt moment.
It's just something that like Holt, he is a character that even though he's always usually quiet, dry, and that kind of stuff, he's a character that seems some shit. Because when you see I don't want to spoil too much for you, DiBona.
No, dude, don't sweat me. I'm not worried about Brooklyn Nine-Nine spoilers.
But he so in flashbacks and stuff like that, you see that he's like, well, I was a gay black man in the police force in the 70s, so you can imagine how that went. And you see all the bullshit he had to deal with and all the struggles he had to deal with, and it makes him a better person. Even though people think he's a hard ass, he's really not a hard ass. He's a hard ass to make his team better and make his squad better.
Yeah, and have you ever Andre Bronger is the name of the actor? Have you ever seen like movies or other television shows that he's ever
Yeah, man.
He's like a serious actor.
Yeah, he's like I don't know if this is true, but he's one of those guys that when you see him, you go, I feel like he's like one of those like Shakespearean, like what they call a Shakespearean trained actor. You're like, yeah, he's been in some real serious dark shit, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I guess.
I think that's why that character works so well, though.
Yeah.
It's because he's playing it at 100.
Yeah.
And like that's what makes it funny in a lot of ways.
And then him and his husband, when they're together, it's just the playoff on there, and then him when doing the competitions against Jake, like when they're doing the Halloween
episodes.
The Halloween episodes.
DiBona, have you gotten to the Halloween episode yet?
Yes, the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
well,
every year they have
do it.
one. Every year they have one.
Every year they do a Halloween episode. That's like their special episode that they make sure to do every year. That there's another heist competition.
Yeah.
And just him, him doing those interactions and him, dealing with all like the stuff that he actually has to deal with. Like he's trying to move up and he's getting pushback from people because even though he's a by the book person, he also knows when there's stuff that's wrong, when there's things that are not right, and even if those affect him moving up, he won't support it.
Yeah.
And he won't go for it. So even though it's a character in a comedy series, it's hysterical. He's actually a really fucking deep character.
Yeah, course, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a well written role.
Yeah,
and it's a very well acted role. And he's really fucking good, though. I like when he's on Twitter. He gets on Twitter finally. He's reluctant to get on Twitter, but he gets on Twitter, and he's posting like police codes and like 0890, and so he goes on and on and on, and then he goes, "Oh, I don't know why I got blocked by Twitter," and then they were like, "Because Twitter thinks you're a bot."
That's funny.
Yeah, and then the other thing I love about it is the fact that you have him in the way he is, uptight, serious, all that stuff, and then his assistant is Gina, who doesn't give a like she's just there.
The exact opposite, right?
She's the complete opposite, but he doesn't fire her because he sees she's part of the squad,
right?
You know, and I don't know. I just love Holt. Like,
yeah, Holt's great.
He's amazing for me.
He's great, man. All right, so we got Captain Holt. Mike, who do you got for number 2?
My next one is it's my heart. So it's Chief Clancy Wiggum from The Simpsons.
I love it. That was an honorable mention for me.
It's my heart, man. Like, I mean, that dude is such an idiot, but like, and with an even dumber son. And like,
did you see the thing that they came out with that they showed Ralph's hair and that it's the same hair, not as Wiggum, but as the one of the cops, the other cops?
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's recently where they're saying that it's not Chief Wiggum's son, but they don't. I don't know if I think that they just play it off as like they never address it.
Yeah, it was just animation.
Like
the audience sees it, but I don't think it's a thing that they
right. Yeah, but he's just. It goes back to being that lovable idiot. Like he tries so hard, but just does everything wrong. You know, like like he just does everything wrong, and it's so funny to me. I even wrote like some of my favorite quotes. Fat Tony is a cancer for this city. He's the cancer, and I'm the what cures cancer. Like everything he says is gold, dude. Like there was one where there was a plane crash and everybody gathers around and he's just like, okay, guys, there's nothing to see here. Oh my God, there's a plane crash. Everybody gather around.
I remember that.
Everybody gather around.
This is crazy. Oh, I remember that one.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, he hit that character. Holy shit. Chief Wiggum. He was I fucking love him. He like you said, those zingers, those one-liners, it's like I don't know. I just can't. I can't.
You know what would be great would be if somebody were to edit the Dumb and Dumber movie with Chief Wiggum and Homer Simpson.
That'd be great.
As Lloyd and just because they're both. I was about to ask who do you think is dumber, and I was like, oh, that's like a Dumb and Dumber question. Like, who do you think is dumber?
Well, one of them is a nuclear engineer, so. I mean,
is he? Is he?
Even I'll see that show and I'll raise you. What if we got a buddy cop show that was Wiggum and Bar Brady?
Oh my God, so actually. Good. Yes,
I'm into that.
Like just Wiggum and Bar Brady in a squad car, like Reno 911 style.
Oh fuck, I would love that.
So good.
I would fucking love that.
Oh my God, so good. All right, so Chief Wiggum, man.
I love that pick.
Good pick. DiBona, who do you got?
All right, my number 3 is who I really
number
wanted.
Number two.
No, number 2. Excuse me, number 2. My number 2 is who I really, really wanted to be my number 1, but I couldn't bring myself to make him my number 1 because he's never been the main guy in a show. Before I give you his name, just like blind resume here, this character has been on 456 episodes of television. He was on Homicide: Life in the Street from 93 to 99, Law and Order SVU from 99 to 2014. He's been on The Wire, he's been on X-Files, and he's been on Arrested Development. And this is the actual character of John Munch, played by Richard Belzer.
Really? I was thinking it was that.
And he was also on an episode of The Simpsons as that character as well.
Right. He has like a 456 live episodes of live action television as not just Richard Belzer playing a cop, but as John Munch. And I really, really, really wanted to make him my number 1, but the problem is he's never been the guy on a show.
Right.
Yeah, we've never even had a whole episode where he's the lead in that episode. He's always the guy that comes in and be like, hey, we got the results for that test.
Yeah, him and Ice-T were the B squad.
Yeah.
Him and Ice-T were always the B squad.
But he's such a great character. it started with Homicide, and he was just this Baltimore street kid who came up and wanted to see his neighborhood do better, so he became a cop, and he was going to fix the system from the inside. Then when he went to SVU, he would always reference the things that used to happen back in Baltimore, just to remind you that he was the same guy. But he always had these insane conspiracy theories that very rarely played out, but there was always just enough of where he could see from the perp, if you will's logic, that there was always a breakthrough in the case that could be attributed to Munch and his insanity.
Right.
And he eventually rose up through the ranks. He got promoted in SVU. He was just this great character. And while you'd always have these episodes where something awful had happened to Olivia, or Christopher Maloney's off being mad and punching somebody he's not supposed to punch, but Belzer, Munch was always doing work. Like he was always shoe leather on the ground, on the beat. It was him and Ice-T, and they were the workhorses while the other two got to be the faces of the department. He's just an incredible character who he was so likable. You wanted to believe that maybe this was the time he was going to be right and the crazy thing he said was going to play out. It's always so much fun to watch him. Plus, Richard Belzer is just funny.
Yeah.
That guy is just old school, fantastic, funny, and he commits to that character so much that at a certain point in his career, there was no line between Richard Belzer and John Munch. That's just who he was at that point.
Yeah, and he still wore the sunglasses even like as not the character. Like he would wear those sunglasses just everywhere.
It's a lot of people, even me, it took me by surprise. Maybe I learned about it like maybe 10 years ago, which is still late in the situation. But that he was a stand-up, and he was like a well-known stand-up comic.
He did Friars Club roast.
Very well-known stand-up.
Yeah, very well-known stand-up, and that goes to show you how much he became that character. That I always saw him as a legitimate actor. I always saw him like, oh, he's a dramatic actor. So when I found out that he was a stand-up, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And they're like, no, he's actually a really good comic. And I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's something that I even me as a comic learned. I was like, oh, well, that's fucking pretty cool.
But that was funny with that character. It's like, hey, Munch, we're going into this really dark opium den. Do you want to take the glasses off? No, I'm good. No, I'm all right.
Yeah, exactly. He was just, it's just, and it's not something that happens where one cop show ends and then it's because SVU is not a spin-off of Homicide: Life in the Streets. It's a completely different show, but they were like, man, Munch was the selling point of Homicide, right? Like, we get it. Daniel Baldwin was in it, but Richard Belzer, that's who we want. And they just brought him over. It's an incredible little thing that they did. And at 456 episodes, he has portrayed the character of John Munch in live action television than any fictional character has been portrayed on TV.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
That is an amazing fact. I like it. So far, no bad picks.
I'm not a fan of the Munch pick, but I respect it. I respect. I'm not a fan of it because I don't like. I've seen Law and Order a million times. I've never fucking cared about that character, but I respect it because if it wasn't, if he wasn't good, then he wouldn't be in there for 400.
Right.
I mean, I respect the pick. I'm not a fan of the pick, but I respect it. Like, I get it.
The weight and my attachment to him also grows from the fact that when I was a kid, I would watch Homicide: Life in the Streets with my mom, and he pulled more weight on that show.
Right.
Still not the main character, but was a bigger part of it than he was on SVU. So when I started watching SVU and found out he was there, I was always more in tune to what he was doing because that was what brought me into SVU in the first place. Oh shit, John Munch is back on TV. And that was the main reason I ever started watching SVU. So I can see where if you're just watching SVU, he walks by with lab results in a manila envelope and just doesn't even stop, just sets them on a table and keeps walking.
Right. I mean, as an actor, you kind of want that. You're like, as an actor, you kind of want that. Like, wait, I can just get paid. All I gotta do is put this envelope on the table. Yeah, I'm good. Cool. I don't have to remember lines or nothing. Yeah, all right, fuck it. Yeah, I can do that.
Card.
I can do that, yeah. But yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, Neri.
So sorry about that. Let me get back to my list here. My number 2 and 1. I've just caught an audible and swapped out my number 2 for my number 1. So my number 2 is Olivia Dunham from Fringe. Because I fucking love that show.
Yeah, Fringe is a great show.
Fringe was such a great show. I was late to that party. Not late in the sense of...
Me too, I haven't watched it.
I was late in the sense of finishing the show. I watched the very first episode the very first night it aired, and I thought it was great. I saw the second episode the week later, and then life got in the way, and then whatever. And I was like, oh, and then years later, which is probably 5 years ago now, I was like, I started working on cruise ships, and I was like, I had nothing but time in my hands, so I downloaded the entire series, and I just started watching, and I just watched and I binged the whole show, and it was so fucking great that 10 years after or 5 years after the show was done, I was like calling up to random people like, hey, have you ever seen Fringe? You ever seen? And they're like, yeah, 5 fucking years ago. I'm like, well, I want to talk about it right now. Let's talk about this shit right now. Like,
listen, don't feel bad because you know what I just started.
Yeah, he literally just started Sopranos. I haven't watched The Sopranos. I still haven't watched Sopranos.
I just started watching The Sopranos 4 days ago.
Yeah,
3 days ago.
Wait, you just started it, and Neri, you've never seen it?
I've seen the first 4 episodes, but that was literally, without exaggeration, my daughter's about to turn 8, so that was probably 9 years ago.
Thing is, my
wife bought me the entire DVD collection, like that as a Christmas present. That was before we had kids, when we were dating.
I feel like that box set comes with every house.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, oh, this is nice. And in the kitchen, and it has a nice island, and then the Sopranos collection, and then it's all right.
Yeah, like the thing is my parents didn't spring for the HBO.
Yeah,
so
I didn't have the HBO. I didn't have the HBO either, man.
So like now that I have the ability to watch it, I have that. I actually have Fringe on my list. Like
Fringe is so good, dude. I love that fucking show so much.
Fringe got dope. Like when Fringe first started, I did the same type of thing. I started Fringe when it first came out, and I was like, all right, I'll see if it gets some legs. And it was okay. I kind of enjoyed it, and I walked away from it for a little while, and then people started coming to me like, man, did you see Fringe? I'm like, no, I gave it a shot. It's not like, oh, you got to come back. You got to come back. And then when Fringe got going, like when it hit high gear, it was relentless. That show became... It just became something that you couldn't look away from. It wasn't something that you got up to go pee and didn't pause it because you wanted to miss none of Fringe.
No, I'm one of those guys, and I'm very and people who've seen me, who've met me for 3 seconds, know this about me. I'm addicted to my phone. Like I'm always looking at my phone, right? I don't mean any disrespect by it. I'm looking at my phone, even when I'm at a movie, right, in the theaters.
I know,
especially when it's one of those things where it's like based on a true story. I'm always fact checking. I'm like, oh, is it based on a true story? Oh, did that really happen? And again, I'm just looking at it like, oh, and then so that's just my thing.
Neri's in the theater. He's like, oh, Freddie Mercury really did have AIDS.
I legit.
This seems like a Hollywood stretch. Let me check this.
I legit was Googling the Queen hits. I was like, that's them? Nah, it can't be them. Hold on. Another one bites the dust as Queen. Are you fucking serious? So I started like,
Ice Ice Baby is Queen.
Get the fuck out of here. They stole that shit from Vanilla Ice, man. But to DiBona's point, to piggyback off his point, Fringe is one of those where you can't do that. You're like you have to be. It grips you, and you're like, no, I got every beat matters, every line matters, and it's just fucking. And what my favorite thing is towards the end of the series, the last season for sure, and then in the half a season before that, they do so many callbacks where there's so many like this happened in season 1 and this happened in season, and you're like, holy fuck! And because I was binging it, it totally made sense to me. Right. I was like, yeah, this is fucking. I just saw this a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever, how long it took me, but it's fucking great.
Fringe reminded me in that aspect of Futurama, where so many storylines were planned out so far in advance.
Yep.
That there were things that were happening, in season 1 that were then playing out in the final season that were just these little seeds that were planted that then played out perfectly.
Yeah.
And as soon as you saw the flashback, it all made sense, but at the time, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a show that is just as fun watching a second time.
Yeah, I'm like, as I'm talking about it now, I'm like, all right, I gotta go back and watch it now.
Yeah.
I guess I'll hold off on watching Sopranos yet again to go back and watch Fringe. But it's so good. I have nothing but great things to say. I bought the DVD. Like, it's so funny. We had a Dave. I was like, man, you would love this show. He's a science nerd. I'm like, dude, you would love this show. He's a science nerd and a science fiction nerd. I'm like, you will love this show. He's like, oh, they're not airing it anywhere. So I went out and bought the entire series on fucking Blu-ray, right? This is like 3 years ago. And then it turns out that, it was actually on Netflix. I'm like, God damn it.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that text message.
I'm like,
they had this shit on Netflix.
And then they're like, oh, are you going to return it? I'm like, nah. Like, I really love the show that much. And I'm like, nah, I'll just fucking keep it. It's so really good.
For me, that's a really good show because it's a great sci-fi show and it stars one of the Mighty Ducks. So, like, that's why I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
Fucking Pacey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh my God, Pacey grew up. I'm like, Pacey grew up, and now he's working to help the FBI. That makes sense. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Totally believable.
He won the championship, helped the USA win the title.
Banged his teacher.
In the first season. Good for you, fucking Pacey. Season 1, off the fuck out of the gate, you're banging teachers, dude. That was literally like episode 3 of Dawson's Creek. He's banged his teacher like within 3 episodes. I'm like, wow.
That's right.
Pacey's kicking in the door to high school like, I came here to chew bubblegum and fuck science teachers.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
He triple deked that pussy.
She showed him her flying V.
It's knuckle buck time.
Knuckle buck time.
It's knuckle buck time. Thank you.
Oh, good times.
Fucking A.
All right. Anyways, all right. So yeah. So my number 2 was Olivia Dunham in Fringe. She's a fantastic character. We've been talking the whole time. We're talking about the show, but in the show, she's a fantastic agent. She's an FBI agent. She's fucking phenomenal at her job. There's nothing I can say that's negative about her. She learns how to be less frigid and more of a human. Not that she's not human, but more of less of an agent, more of a person, right? I don't want to say woman. Yeah. And by the end, and it's fucking great, man. I mean, just that show is great, but her character's great, and she is by every stretch of the imagination, by every definition of the word, she is the leader of that fucking team, and it's fucking great. So, all right. So our number 2s were Captain Hope from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons, John Munch from Law and Order, and Olivia Dunham from Fringe. All right, honorable mentions. What do we got for honorable mentions?
Geekmore?
Yeah, do Geekmore.
On the Geekmore Facebook, Alex Suarez has from 4 to 1, Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Police Squad, Olivia Benson from SVU, Thomas Magnum, the Tom Selleck version, Carl Winslow, honorable. And then he has Maxwell Smart, Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane from Dukes of Hazzard, James Gordon from Animated Series, and Jack Bauer.
I never considered that. James Gordon. Holy cow.
Yeah, I told Dave that.
James Gordon from
Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I told Dave that on the way. Commissioner Gordon.
Put some fucking respect on his name. You put respect on his fucking name. You James. You know him on a personal level.
Yeah.
He's Commissioner, sir.
You his wife? You his mama?
His mama.
Now you call him Lieutenant.
Yeah, you can call him Jimmy.
You don't call him Lieutenant. You call him Commissioner.
Take
all
my
right.
nickname out of your mouth.
Ismael Yano has Olivia Benson, Lenny Briscoe, Jim Gordon,
Lenny Briscoe. Holy fuck! Good job.
And Andy Griffith. Sorry. You didn't put Barney Fife. You put Andy Griffith. Okay. All right. 4 to 1, Jake Peralta. 3, Elliot Stabler. 2, Lieutenant Dangle. 1, Seeley Booth from Bones. Honorable mention to Hank from Breaking Bad. Jemiah, he's got from 4 to 1, Officer Barb Brady from South Park. That's great. So Elliot Stabler, Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice, and Jimmy McNulty from The Wire. That's another show I never watched that I need to watch.
I've already seen up until like the first half of season 3, and it's phenomenal.
I've heard it's amazing.
It's phenomenal up until season, but life got in the way. Yeah, I think that's where my HBO subscription ran out.
Yeah,
you had that free sample for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch The Wire, and then it got cut out.
I watched half The Wire.
Yeah, I watched.
His honorable mentions were Chief Wiggum, Duty Renisha Williams. I don't know who that one's from. Virgil Tibbs and Seeley Booth. Then Nakia Leonard has from 4 to 1, Robert Gorin from Criminal Intent, Stephen Holder from The Killing, Thomas Magnum from Magnum PI, and Elliot Stabler from SVU. Honorable mention to Veronica Mars, Jessica Fletcher, Sarah Linden, and Stan Smith. And that's everybody on the Geekmore.
On my personal Facebook, we have Dave Siegel. He said he put a GIF of Tom Selleck as Magnum PI, and he says "End of podcast." So I guess we've gone long. Valerie Lopez said number 4, the cop that got Daya pregnant on Orange Is the New Black. I guess that's a thing.
A porn stat.
Yeah, porn
No,
stat.
that wasn't porn. No, it wasn't porn stat. It was the one with the one leg, right?
Yeah, it was the one. It was the one that would.
Yeah, it was the guy with the one leg.
3, Officer Bar Brady. Number 2, the redhead cop on South Park. And number 1, everyone on Reno 911.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. That's my favorite. It's such a fucking nice.
Nice.
Did you see DiBona? Did you see the episode where they were doing a Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah.
It's so fucking.
I haven't
Let's
seen
wrap
that.
this school shooting up. I got a stagecoach to rob at 3:45.
Yeah, he was so addicted. The whole town is addicted to Red Dead Redemption 2 and everything that was going on. There were literally school shootings, and he was like, "Yeah, but how do you get the like whatever? How do you get the sniper rifle?" And like, "Oh, you gotta, so it's a whole thing
Right,
on
he's talking-
Red Dead Redemption 2. It's
That's
fucking
awesome.
fantastic. He's like, I was so worried about you. And he was like, You were playing Red Dead Redemption 2. He's like, well, I mean, I couldn't leave the house, but I was really worried about you. He's like, he's like, you're at this part. He's like, that's like 40 hours into the game. Like, what do you think?
It was so good, and they're just completely blowing off school shooting after.
Oh yeah, they're totally blowing it off. Like, yeah, do you have anything to tell us? And he's like, I don't know. We had a Spanish test, and I don't know. Like, he was just like fucking random. Yeah, like completely normal.
So good.
Greg Knapp has there's no order, there's no number order, so I don't know which is which, but he has Columbo, Starsky, Kojak, and Fish.
Kojak, who loves you, baby?
Yeah, and I was like, he goes, I'm showing my age. I go, dude, I love all the lists. I just don't know who Fish is. Fish is the only one that I don't know by name, at least whatever. So he sends me, it's Abe Vigoda was from Barney Miller. It's spun off into his own show called Fish, and I was like, I don't know what the hell that even means.
Barney Miller, Barney Miller. That's one. If you look it up, that's another cop show that was from like the 70s.
Yeah,
and his character, he was from there.
All right. So let me see here, and then Yvette La Rosa put Olivia Benson, Hank Voight. Where's Hank Voight from?
Isn't Hank Breaking Bad?
It's from Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
That's
Okay.
Hank Schrader.
Oh, that's right. I just
No, that's Hank Schrader. So it's not Voight.
So where am I? What is she
So who the
saying?
fuck's Hank Voight?
I don't know.
I'll
I don't like when these people they don't put TV shows like we're all supposed to fucking like follow. You know what I mean? You're not. It's not like you're putting Jack and Diane or like you fucking. All right, and then
Hank Voight is a fictional.
Sam and Diane. Jack and Diane is a John Cougar Mellencamp song.
Well, that's same thing. We're saying the same.
He's from Chicago PD.
Chicago PD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. all
Christy's screaming at.
right. Oh no, I know. I'm sure she is. Spillwicks.
Sipowicz from
Sipowicz.
NYPD Blue.
Yeah, NYPD Blue.
Yeah. And Fox Mulder. Daniel Freeman has T.J. Hooker.
Classic.
Yeah.
And that's it.
He doesn't. Nobody has Paunch. What the fuck's going on with this?
Just a big ass statue of William Shatner. That's his.
That's
mountain.
it. That's it.
The fact that nobody's even mentioned
Paunch. I know.
that, from Chips. It's pretty fucked up. Racist, man.
Why is it? Because he's Latin,
Yeah, 'cause
motherfuckers.
Hispanic people can't be cops too, motherfucker. All right, so Dave from the Mt.Geekmore podcast, he has number 4, Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Police
Take your
Squad.
time. Let's try it. Third time.
3, Captain Raymond Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Number 2, Dana Scully from X-Files. And number 1, Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. His honorable mentions.
Dale Cooper's such a good pick.
His honorable mentions are Thomas Magnum, Jake Peralta, Joel Swanson, and T.J. Hooker. Sergeant T.J. Hooker.
Joe Swanson.
Yep.
Joe Swanson.
That's one of my
Fantastic.
honorable mentions as well.
All right, so who do you got, Jeff? Honorable mention?
All right, I'm going to narrow this down from the 18 that I have. I'm going to go with Raylan Givens from Justified. I'm going to go with, and I'm probably the only one that watches maybe DiBona, Detective Inspector Alec Hardy from Broadchurch. That's David Tennant's character.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm horny for that.
Well, I'm not gonna say it because my number one. You'll understand. I'll mention it when I do my number one. I also have Frank Reagan from Blue Bloods. That's Tom Selleck's character from Blue Bloods. He's the commissioner in it. I absolutely love him in that show. Charlie Cruz from the show Life. That's the one I was talking to you about, Neri.
I love that show.
That Charlie Cruz from Life. He that show only lasted 2 seasons, but it was fucking great.
It's fantastic.
And I think and then Bull from Night Court. And I'm done.
Okay. That technically is law enforcement, you know. Yeah, you know. I'm trying to. All right.
My favorite part of that pick is in my head. That's not even on your sheet. Just all of a sudden it occurred to you, and you're like, "Oh my god, here it comes!"
I actually was gonna put the dude from Cops, the animated show that I'm the only one that remembers that had the robot dog with the police siren.
What do you
on
mean?
it.
It's crime fighting time. How the fuck dare you, sir?
Fighting time,
Get
dude.
the fuck out of here! Come on, yeah.
Fighting crime in a future time.
When I was a kid, in the peak of that show's popularity, I was at a park in the neighborhood, and there was a cop that rode up to the park, and you know the cops are always there, and he literally on the speakerphone said it's crime fighting time, and I lost my fucking shit. I was like, ah! Like I was like, it might as well have been the fucking animated cop.
That was such an underrated show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
the guy with the fucking machine guns in his stomach that he would open his trench coat.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, bro.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I could do a whole fucking podcast on that show.
That's fucking great. That show is fantastic. I'm sure it doesn't age well.
I have it on DVD somewhere. I'll look for it.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm sure that show doesn't age well.
Central Organization of Police Specialists. There's probably no way it aged well. Some of those 80s cartoons, man.
Yeah,
most of those 80s.
Most of them. Yeah.
Most of them.
All right, Mike. What's your honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Okay. So my honorable mentions, I have Robert Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Nice.
Wow, great pick.
Yeah.
Great pull, man.
I have Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Chip or Dale, whichever one.
But they're not. Are they law enforcement? Private detectives?
They
are PIs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
PIs.
mean, Dale is Magnum PI.
Yeah, I guess. So you have to pick Dale, but because you can't
That's
pick
true,
Indiana
'cause
Jones.
I can't pick Chip because
So-
he's Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
Dale.
So Dale.
Dale.
Okay.
So I'll pick Dale. And for the Cubans, it's Dale. And I also have Molly Solverson from Fargo, the first season of Fargo.
Oh, she's
nice.
so fucking good.
Nice.
Awesome.
Almost made my list, but she's fucking great. That whole show's fun, bananas. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
fucking great.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, the movie's fucking fantastic.
the show's way better, man.
I love the show so much, and that first season
I saw
came out
Yeah,
like fire. It's so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I had a comedian friend who was like, "You haven't watched? Oh no, he told me about he told me about phrasing. What's that show? What am I thinking of?
Archer.
He told me about Archer, and it was so great. He's like, "Oh, you owe me one." I go, "Have you seen Fargo?" He goes, "No." I go, "We're even." We're even. That's how I tell you. It was fucking great.
Does Archer count?
And then my other
Archer does
ones
count.
are
Oh man, Archer.
Yeah, I have Joe Swanson from Family Guy
Love
and
it.
Stan Smith from American Dad.
I like it.
One of the reasons why I love Stan Smith is because politically, if you watch that show, you're going to think it's funny no matter what.
Yeah.
Because you either agree with it and it's hilarious, or you're like, this guy is a moron.
Right.
And you just start laughing because of that.
Yeah.
So no matter what, it's always comedic, you know?
I like it.
That's one of the reasons why I love it.
I'm one of those guys that I think American Dad is better than Family Guy.
I definitely
I was
agree
about
with you.
to say the exact same
It's-
thing.
it's-
It was so much better.
American Dad is the only show where I like every character. And Family Guy, I only like a couple of characters.
I mean, I like a lot of characters of Family Guy, but I think it's a better written show. It's such a smart
Oh, I
show.
agree.
It's such a smart American Dad being such a smart show. Like I think but it's that when they did that episode of they were doing war reenactments with the Vietnam War in the country club, and the golf cart was a helicopter, and they will go back and forth between real life and what their imagination would think of it. It's fucking, and then literally you see them getting into an actual helicopter,
Yeah.
and then it would cut to real life, and it was a guy in a golf cart, and he would do the noise tuk, 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 with his mouth. I thought that was the funniest. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Did you see the one
And they
where...
would do the red marker across their throat.
Right.
Yes.
Did you see the one where Stan made a play about the secondhand guy to Lincoln? It was called Lincoln Lover, Remember that?
Lincoln Lover,
Yeah.
yes. And, the gay community got super attached to it.
Yeah, because they thought that it was, Lincoln's boyfriend or whatever.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that's why he thought that it was popular.
And they invited him to be a log cabin Republican.
It was amazing.
It's this underground group of gay Republicans because Lincoln was gay.
Yeah. So
Fucking good, man. Yeah, he's great.
All right, DiBona, what's your honorable mentions?
All right, honorable mentions here. Starsky and Hutch. I couldn't pick just one. I loved watching that show in syndication with my folks growing up. It was a lot of fun. The car was dope.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Starsky and Hutch. Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad now is really heavy on my mind. I'm actually my wife and I've seen Breaking Bad. Let me preface with that, but my wife is just watching it for the first time. And last night we just watched the season 4 finale and started season 5. So Schrader's real heavy on me right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was tempted to put him on my list, but how good could he have been, eating dinner with?
That's why he didn't make my list.
That's why he didn't make mine.
That's why he didn't make my list, because I love him as a character.
Yeah.
But as a cop, he's not that great.
Right.
He got so close so many times, and he just, I was like, you just
right.
Yeah.
And so it's just so, like I said, I told her, I said I kind of want to put him on there because I'm thinking about him right now, but. Man, like I said, I gotta be careful with what I say in case you can hear me, but I'm like, we're 5 seasons in and he hasn't caught his brother-in-law yet, so how good of a cop could he be?
It's like if we make if we do an episode of Mountain of Best Journalist, I'm not putting Lois Lane on there, man. I'm so fucking sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Pulitzer Award winner. Yeah, but he fucking Superman. Glasses.
Yeah.
True.
That's all you need. Awful. Awful.
I've got this is one that I feel like just needs to be mentioned on here. The original TV cop in Joe Friday.
Oh,
I can't really talk Joe Friday. I've never watched Dragnet. I just know that it exists.
Dragnet 1949. Dragnet 1949. I was talking to Dave before we came here because Dave says he's never seen it. And which shocks me because
it's black and white.
It's black and white, yeah, and it has fedoras. So Dave,
I've
for whatever.
only seen the movie.
Yeah, I've seen the. The movie is my reference. Yeah,
my parents actually
I've
bought.
seen the movie. Yeah,
yeah. My parents actually bought me the Dragnet 1949 because I was like, I want that one. Get me that one. I mean, I love the 80s movie because it's Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, but that's great.
My last honorable mention might be the only cop that we mentioned tonight who actually routinely got his ass kicked for real, and that is none other than the Big Boss Man himself.
Oh, shout out! Yeah, nice.
Big Boss Man, definitely a law enforcement. He was.
I love you.
He had a nightstick. He was definitely on TV. Raw is the longest episodic running television show in history.
I'm gonna raise you. I'm gonna raise you, DiBona. I'm gonna raise you right now. The Fashion Police.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fandango.
Freaking Joan Rivers is my favorite cop.
Oh, that's so funny. Joe Rivers is my favorent TV cop.
That's a great, damn, bro, Big Boss Man. That's so fucking good.
Yeah, Big Boss Man was the reason why when WrestleMania 2000 for the Nintendo 64 came out and you create your own character, he was the reason why my character came out with a fucking nightstick.
Oh,
yeah, just fucking coming out with a nightstick.
Big Boss Man build.
Yeah, just fucking nightstick. I just want a nightstick.
That's so good.
Yeah, so Big Boss Man.
I love it.
Nice, man. My honorable mentions are Jack Ryan from the Amazon show Jack Ryan that I just saw season 1 of. I literally was watching it this week and I was like, this show is amazing.
Yeah, I have to watch
and everybody's like, it's been 2 years. Where the fuck have you been? And I'm like, it's amazing.
But does Pam know that's what he's doing now?
But does anyone not call that show Jim from The Office?
Yeah.
With a gun?
Yeah, Jim with a gun.
Jim with a gun.
The whole time I was watching it, I was like, man, this is an elaborate prank that he's pulling on Dwight. Holy fuck. He's going all out on this one.
Imagine if that had gotten to a season finale and a big leather chair turned around and it's Rainn Wilson.
Oh, that would be so good.
Oh.
I don't think think you understand how much I would love that.
It'd be threat level midnight too.
Oh, threat level midnight. Oh my God, yes. Yes. So Jack Ryan.
Turns out he's actually Michael Scarn Jr.
God, that's hilarious. So we got Jack Ryan. Then we have Joe West from The Flash. We have
Which you just added.
Yeah, we have Ed Green from Law and Order, and we have Detective Ed Green from Andy Parker PI. The last three were all played by Jesse L. Martin. So he has a cop face, motherfucker.
Dreamboat.
Yeah,
He does.
absolutely. So those are the honorable mentions, man. All right.
Number ones.
We got number ones.
Round 1.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Do it. Do it. Come on. Come on.
All right. So number one, Jeff. What do we got for number one?
All right, so this number one, this is what I didn't want to say when I was doing the honorable mentions. I was torn between my number one and Detective Inspector Alex Hardy from Broadchurch. I didn't want to put two British shows on my list. My number one's John Luther from Luther.
Nice.
Never haven't seen the show, man. But I love him and everything he does.
Yeah, like
It's a sexy pick.
Yeah, I mean, John Luther's this guy that he, you know, and the thing is, it's British. It's a British show, so the seasons are really short.
Yeah,
it's only I think like 4 episodes. I think 4 or 5 episodes each season of it.
Yeah.
Luther. But you have
like
this
movie length,
right?
Yeah.
But you have this guy who is intelligent. He's known to be an intelligent guy. He has they refer to him as being very like he reads a lot of literature. He's very well versed and you know he's reliable, but at the same time he's got these demons inside of him, and he lets his work overtake his entire life, which leads to issues with his wife, emotional issues for him, and there's a lot. He goes through a lot of shit in was it 3 seasons? 4?
I think it's 3.
I think
Yeah.
it's only 3.
And I mean the shit that he goes through in those, and he's the type of guy that there's one scene in particular from the show that I remember that he'll get whatever he needs by any means necessary, and he doesn't really necessarily care about procedure. So like there's a guy that they're trying to get a DNA sample. So he literally just puts on a knit hat, sunglasses, puts on latex gloves, and the guy starts walking down an alley. He just walks up to him, clocks him in the face, and while the guy's down, he just squeezes his nose, gets blood, and just walks away, gets in the car, and drives off. Like, that's the type of cop that he is. And the thing is, and Idris Elba's spoken about this in interviews, that he's said that the thing about Luther is that he's the type of cop that it's that person that whenever you see something on the news that you know there's a child molester, that you're like, if I got my fucking hands on that child molester, the shit I would do. His character threads that needle, because I mean the opening scene of the show, I mean, it's not really spoiling because it's the opening scene, he literally tracks down a child murderer and gets a confession from them, and then the guy's hanging off of like the edge of a railing, and he has the option of saving him or letting him die, and he lets him fall. Because it's justice. He got a confession, he got what he needed to get, but this guy does not deserve to live because he's a child murderer. He threads that needle of do I, you know, I'm a cop, but at the same time I'm a human being, and these people deserve punishment. I just think he's a really deep. I love that character. So
I definitely agree with you. I think he's like the Batman they've been writing lately, where he's like super dark and kills people. Like that's who Luther is.
Yeah,
he's basically Batman. You know.
Ironically enough, in Hobbs and Shaw, he plays Black Superman.
There you go.
He's Black Superman.
Yeah. So there's that. There's a tie-in.
And you've seen it too, DiBona, right?
Oh yeah, I love Luther, man. Like I'll follow Idris Elba to the ends of the earth, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't follow him that far, but I will watch whatever he's on. I'm not gonna. I don't want to follow the man.
I'm all in. Idris Elba is my Black Messiah, man.
You know, here we just call him Messiah. We don't. I don't know why you got to put the word black in front of it.
Yeah, we don't see color here.
Like I just that show in particular, I enjoyed Idris Elba before that show, and from when I had caught him in this and that, and you know, when he was on The Office and little things here and there. But when I watched Luther, that watching Luther will put anybody on that level with Idris Elba, man, because he becomes that character, and nothing else you've ever seen with Idris Elba matters when you're watching Luther. And then it's so good that when you're watching other stuff, sometimes you're like, cut it out, you're Luther. Like, don't. Like it.
Well, that's how I feel about, because I haven't seen Luther yet. That's how I feel about Idris Elba in the character that he played with in The Office. I was like, you're just a dick to fucking Jim. I don't understand why you don't like him. Gotta be a dick. Like the whole time he was punching The Rock in the face in Hobbs and Shaw, I was like, yeah, but you would do that to Jim. Yeah.
So good. Oh, I see. Charles Minor and his aggression issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, because everybody's got to like soccer, fucking asshole. Jesus. God.
But it's Luther, absolutely incredible. Just it's one, you know, like when I said at the top, I had a couple of mine that were really relatable. When I say that, I mean the fact that my favorite characters are always deeply, deeply flawed. And when you watch Luther, despite the fact that if he would do the straight and narrow thing, he'd absolutely be top of his field. Just his humanity and everything Jeff said it. I mean, just demons and just the way that he views the world comes through so strong,
right?
That he just becomes this insanely flawed but perfect in his flawed character.
Yep, that's perfectly said.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm into. Again, Idris Elba, man. I think he'll do our watch. So I'm definitely interested in watching it.
I think you would dig it.
Yeah, man, I like most of I started watching Sherlock Holmes and like the first 3 seasons of the first season. It is really good. So you know, I'm down. All right, so let me see what we got here.
That's my number one.
So
it's Mike.
Yeah, I'm going with my heart on this one. So my number one is Chief Jim Hopper from Stranger Things.
Oh wow,
number one.
I didn't even think about it. Wow, really? Really?
I just wanted to use the button, man. I haven't got to use
I was like, you don't disrespect Hopper like that.
I haven't got to. Look, I'm not done with the season 3 yet, all right? I'm like...
Just because he did Hellboy doesn't mean that you got to be mad at Hopper, okay?
I do, actually.
I didn't pick his character in The Equalizer.
Yeah.
I picked Jim Hopper.
No, I'm up to like episode 5 of season 3, so I'm not quite done yet.
It gets better,
but I like the season. I just don't like the fact that he's such an asshole fucking dad to this chick, and like, you know, he's bothered so much by her dating Mike, but Mike did disrespect him and laugh in his fucking face. So I would, you
don't disrespect me.
I would, in my own house. How dare you in front of my girl and everything.
Well, I think one of the reasons why he's all of my picks essentially in one character. So he's like a lovable idiot that has a huge anger problem, and like, you know, and even though his decisions aren't always right, you still love the guy.
Right.
So like, for example, when we meet his character, his daughter's dead, and he's just like has no hope in the world anymore.
Right.
You know, and like that's why he's the way that he is, you know, in a lot of ways. And we kind of get to see him become a good cop in a lot of ways, you know? And so, yeah, I love Jim Hopper. I think he's great.
And I think that's part of the reason why he treats Eleven that way, is because he's already lost one daughter.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to lose another one.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but that second daughter could kick his ass.
Right.
So maybe, you know,
she's a thermonuclear weapon.
There is that.
So maybe you just back up a little bit, you know?
Yeah, why don't you just chillax?
Chillax, you know?
Lego my ego, dog.
Yeah.
Why did you say that name?
Really? You added that one?
It's my favorite.
Martha.
Yeah, all right. So what's his name again? Hopper? I know it's Hopper.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know Hopper. I don't know his first name.
Jim
All
Hopper.
right, relax. Take it easy.
I love it. He's like, what was the name again?
No, it's just I didn't remember his first name. I'm
I
being
get it,
serious.
bro.
Hopper, Stranger Things.
I also think it's really funny that all of my picks are like, hey, I like Chief Wiggum, and you guys are like, I really like the darkest character of all time.
Yeah.
He's my favorite because of this. And I'm like, I really like Chippendales, and let me tell you something, because this next guy that I'm going to pick, like, everything is so dark, and then I'm like,
Have you ever had your whole Have you ever had your whole family murdered? Well, this guy did.
So Columbo, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So DiBona, who do you got for your number one?
All right, so I circumvented my own only one person per show rule in the fact that Munch was also on SVU, was also on Homicide, Life in the Street. So I'm going to go back to the Law and Order book here, because this is what I consider to be the quintessentially iconic TV cop, and that is Jerry Orbach as Lenny Briscoe on Law and Order from 92 to 2004. For 12 years, Sam Waterston and Jerry Orbach were the faces of Law and Order.
Yep.
And honestly, to this day, if you're talking about just regular Law and Order, not SVU, not CI, none of that, the two faces that people are going to picture are Lenny Briscoe and Sam Waterston. Lenny Briscoe legitimately looked like a New York cop. If I were in New York and saw a group of detectives, I would just expect to see one of them who looked exactly like Jerry Orbach. That's what you think of. He was this awesome blend of good cop and bad cop. He never had to break the rules. He would push boundaries, but he was so good at his job. He could go in the interrogation room and he would get his confession. He didn't have to raise his voice. He didn't have to throw chairs or hit people with phone books. He was just so good at his job. And everyone, and when you go back to those days of Lenny Briscoe on Law & Order, that dude ran through some partners. He had Chris Noth and Benjamin Bratt, and I mean, they just kept coming and kept coming. And he was so good with any of them, because it didn't matter who was playing with him. He was so good that they elevated to be good too.
Yeah, and he was only written out because he passed away in real life, right?
Yeah.
Fucking quitter.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Fucking quitter. Why did he leave the show? I don't know. He died? Jesus.
His character, once again, like I said at the very top, I don't like cops. So if I'm gonna talk about enjoying something that is cop related, I want you to show me somebody who seems like a really real person. So he was a recovering alcoholic who, over his run in the show, relapsed multiple times, including one time he had a relapse, was at a bar drunk, tried to do the right thing and not drive himself home, calls his partner to come pick him up. She's on her way to get him, gets T-boned and killed. So now he not only has to deal with the fact that he relapsed, but he got his partner killed because she was trying to come pick him up. And that was just something he had to deal with for the rest of the run of the show. He's everything that I would look for in a TV cop. It was
or a real cop.
Fact that, like I said,
or a real cop.
Or yes, he was just perfect in that role. And also, just outside of just being Lenny Briscoe, I mean, Jerry Orbach was just an incredible human being. He was usually considered one of the last true Hollywood performers because he could do it all. I'm sure nobody listening to this doesn't know this, but if this is news to you, he was both the talking and the singing voice of Lumiere in the animated Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Because he's been on Broadway, he's done Law and Order. I mean, he did it all, and he was incredible. So I could not have Lenny Briscoe as number one on this list.
I like it.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't get the Law and Order bells.
The dum dum
Dun, dun.
Nah.
Dun, dun.
I should. Lenny Briscoe is great. Him and and Ed Green, I'm sorry, are the ones that I think of when I think of Law and Order.
Yeah.
It's him and Ed
Absolutely.
Green. And I know everybody on our Facebook was like up Olivia, and they were high on Olivia. And I'm not saying but I just don't think of her immediately. I think of eventually I'll get to her, just like I think of Kingpin. His name is Kingpin. I don't give a fuck. That's his name.
Oh, you talk about Gomer fucking Pyle.
Put some respect on his name. He's.
See, I don't think of him as either of those. I think of sugar water. Where do you keep your dad?
Oh, it's true.
It was like he was wearing a Lenny suit.
Yeah.
It was really loose.
So
that was his homage to Lenny. All right, Neri, so what's your number one?
My number one is Raylan Givens from Justified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of the I think it's what I would consider one of the greatest TV shows. It's definitely one of the most underrated TV shows.
Yeah.
Not enough people talk about it, I don't think. Justified is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
From everything from the writing, the acting.
Timothy Oliphant's fucking fantastic.
Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant, quite possibly just the most underrated actor of our time.
I agree.
I think so.
I mean,
man.
I had 75 honorable mentions, but Seth Bullock was another one from Deadwood.
Yeah. I haven't seen Deadwood yet.
Yeah.
He was the sheriff in Deadwood, so technically it counts.
That does count. But I love this show so much. The writing is so well. The acting is so well.
His character's
fucking great. One of my favorite parts about that, one of my favorite scenes is in season 1 when he's talking to his ex-wife, who he later rekindles and gets hooked up with. Spoiler alert. He's always talked in a low, calm voice,
right.
and she calls him an angry guy, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she tells him, she goes, "Raylan, you may talk in a low voice, and you may never yell, and whatever, but you are one of the most angriest people I've ever known." And he never denies it. And that was the first time I started realizing that anger doesn't just come in volatile volume. It doesn't come in that. And then I started relating to other people, and I'm like, oh, I know people like that who are very angry, but they're not loud and like, but then that's one of the things that hit close to me. And one of my fucking favorite lines, maybe of all TV, definitely up there in conversation, is when I'm a big fan of badassery. Like, I like when you're a badass at something. That's why I'm not a big fan of Jackie Chan, because his kung fu is like comical, and I'm like, can I just get a badass? I don't need you to be a clown. I need you to be fucking badass. I say all this just to get to the point where Raylan Givens literally takes a bullet out of his clip, out of his gun, and manually throws it at a bad guy, and he says, "If I see you here again next time that bullet's gonna come a lot faster." And I'm like, yes, oh my god, that's such a badass line. And I thought it was fucking great.
Well, the opening scene of that show,
in Miami, it's the opening.
It's the opening of Miami. Like at the table. That's just like,
it's so fucking great. And then the conversation.
In Miami, that's how people shoot. They just throw bullets. Yeah, they just throw bullets.
It's bullets and chancletas.
Yeah. And what that opening scene is so great. And then later on, when he's having that conversation with Boyd, and he's saying like, that was a really good shot, whatever. He was like, "Did you have your gun already pointed at him?" And he goes, "No, it was holstered." And he goes, "Now come on." And he goes, "It was holstered." Like, he was just like,
yeah,
that's how much of a badass he is. He goes, "It was holstered." Like, that's how quick of a draw he is. And I love that fucking show. I love that guy. That cop is fucking great. That was I don't want to say that's my introduction to Timothy Oliphant, but that's the one that put him on the map for me, where everything from then on was like, oh, that's the guy from Justified.
The girl next door.
Yeah.
He was the porn producer.
That's right. He was the porn producer. Yes, he was. He's also the outside salesman who turned down Pam in the office because she was too nerdy.
Danny Cordray.
That's right.
Yeah, Danny Cordray. I was just about to say 2 of our number ones had bit parts on The Office.
That's right. And but I fucking love everything about that character.
He also, just if we're gonna talk Timothy Oliphant, this is where I leave you. He's the neighbor across the street with the traumatic brain injury.
That's right.
And, yeah,
man. And he was like,
oh my God.
He was there, but not all the way there.
Right, like
it
he was still kind of stuck at that age when they got into the car accident, and like talking about it right now gives me chills because he was so good in that role.
Really good. He was. I just saw him a few hours ago. I just finished watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yes, I just saw it Friday night.
He was the other detective in Gone in 60 Seconds too.
Yes, he was.
Right.
Yep.
Where he goes, damn, he's good, and he goes, it's part of the car. It's mostly, I'm sure it's mostly the car. Yeah, he was that guy too. Yeah, he's great, man. He's fucking fantastic. So that's our number ones. Our number ones are John Luther from Luther, Jim Hopper from Stranger Things, Lenny Briscoe from Law and Order, and Raylan Givens from Justified.
So we have two duplicates.
Yeah, we have Captain Holt
and Dangle.
Yeah.
So those
Dangle's
two
gonna make it.
Yep. So Dangle and Dangle and
is that Lieutenant Dangle?
Yeah, Lieutenant Dangle.
Lieutenant Dangle.
Yeah, you put
yes,
respect
sir.
on that name. So Lieutenant Dangle and Captain Holt are both officially on the mountain. So now comes the battle for the last two spots.
The last two spots. Hold on, let me put okay. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Listen, I got two on the mountain, so I'm okay foregoing Luther because I mean I think he's a great pick, but
I would love to agree. I just haven't seen him, but I would agree based on the premise of everything I've seen. This guy do is fantastic. I just have not seen the fucking show. So, he, everybody from I don't know who else. Chief Wiggum. We have Chief Wiggum. We have Detective Russ Cole. We have Detective Russ Cole. Carl Winslow.
So wait,
Vic
Luther,
Mackey.
Does Luther? Did Luther pass?
It's up to you guys. I can't vote on somebody who I haven't seen. I'm not opposing the vote. I'm just saying you guys vote on that. That's up to you. I can't vote on somebody.
I love Luther, and I'm actually kind of upset. I didn't even think to make him an honorable mention. Like I would not be mad at Luther making it because he is an absolutely incredible character.
And you've seen it too, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset with Luther being on it as well.
All right. So we could put John Luther on there. Luther.
If I were if I were going to argue for one of my picks, even though like Munch has got the best run, I think that Lenny Briscoe was the face of one of the biggest crime procedurals in history for 12 years. I think that when you talk about TV cops, Lenny Briscoe is going to be one of the first. If you're talking crime procedurals, Lenny Briscoe is going to be one of the first people that people picture in their head. That's going to be somebody that's going to jump to the front of who they're thinking of. Or if they don't, as soon as you say it, they're going to go, "Oh man, yeah, no, that's the one I should have thought of."
I mean, that he was a great character. The problem that I have with Law and Order in the sense of is that we don't really get to know too much of their personal life, which is the whole point of Law and Order. The whole point of Law and Order is focus on the crime, on the criminals, on that aspect. I think Law and Order came out at the same time. I want to say NYPD Blue. Where NYPD Blue was the opposite, where they're like, we're going to talk about so much of the cop's personal life, and then the crime is kind of going to be in the background. And Law and Order was like, cool. We're going to go ahead and do the exact opposite, where it's going to be all about the crime and the criminal. And then we learn about Lenny Briscoe, correct me if I'm wrong, throughout 12 years of the run. We don't, we learn certain things about his character, but we don't get too much into it. But
you're absolutely right. The show was very little about their lives. It was about them on the job for the most part. And honestly, one of the reasons I stopped watching SVU was because it became so much about Maloney and Hardigay's like personal lives that I was like, I don't care about this anymore. Like, I want to watch you catch perverts.
That sounds weird.
All I'm hearing from everybody is Bull from Night Court. So I'm just gonna.
I don't know if that works.
Bull from Night Court. All right. But yeah, so that's my whole issue. But again, I'm not fighting anybody. I think all these picks are solid. I wish I honestly used the sound effect just because I wanted to use it. I didn't actually think anybody deserved that sound effect, but
I think it's like the first one mountain in a while that every pick was like. Not argued that there wasn't one that everyone was like,
I don't have a problem with any of these picks. Lenny Briscoe, again, like he said, it's an iconic role. I have no problem in putting that on there. I will say, 2019, it would be a shame that we don't have a woman on this list.
Yeah.
Olivia.
You know what? I'm
Fringe.
I'm all for it, dude.
She's fucking great.
She's so good.
Yeah, she's great.
I'm pretty solid with that pick too. Honestly, I didn't even think about Fringe because my mind just kind of went TV cop, so I didn't get outside. I didn't think about FBI too much. Somebody said Dale Cooper and all the honorable mentions, and I was like, oh damn, that was good. So I didn't think very much about FBI agents outside of Schrader just because he's fresh on my mind. Olivia was a very good character and carried that team.
All right, I'm okay with that.
I'm good.
I mean, you haven't seen the show, so it's the same thing.
I saw the first episode.
You and I have the same thing with Luther and Fringe, where I'm like, I can't talk about Luther. I can't say anything bad or good, and you can. It's the same thing with.
But I mean, I guess it's in the same situation, like you said. It's just we swapped out because Mike, you've seen Fringe, and you think it's, and DiBona's seen Fringe, and they're speaking highly of it. So I have no problem. And you said so we can have a lady.
Not only can we have a lady, but we can have somebody who's not just a cop, who's also in the federal branch. So therefore, it does encompass the whole law enforcement topic.
How about this? We have a lady, we have men, but what about a muñequito? We need a muñequito.
He's from Alabama. He doesn't know what you're saying.
A cartoon.
Yeah, he doesn't know what you're saying. Man.
One of them colored pictures.
I've missed this part of this. So.
I don't know. So my vote is Olivia Dunham. I don't know if anybody else wants to, but that's my vote.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm down for that.
I'm good with that. Yeah, let's get outside of just male cops, and I'm good with it because she was solid through that show.
All right, man. So our final mountain is Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911, Captain Hope from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, John Luther from Luther, and Olivia Dunham from Fringe. And that's the list, man. Do we have DiBona? You got anything coming up that you want to promote? You're a teacher, and you actually just started the school year, correct?
Yes. I am a kindergarten teacher. We just started the school year, so I don't actually have anything to promote right now. If for some reason somebody in Tuscaloosa has decided to listen to this, my trivia nights will be back next week. Bingo on Wednesdays at the Houndstooth. Bingo comes back this week. I host both of those now. So come on out and see me at the Houndstooth. I'm there basically every day, Wednesday through Saturday.
Nice. Are you still working bar, DiBona?
Yeah, that's what the Houndstooth is. It's the bar that I work at. I'm hosting trivia there on Wednesday nights, bingo on Thursday nights, working security on Friday nights, and bar backing Saturdays.
Nice, man. All right. And then Mike, well, you and I have a show this Sunday. This won't air until the following day after that show. Okay. So you and I have a show at the Improv. Yeah. Anything else you want to promote that's going to be from next Monday on?
Absolutely. I have a podcast called Child Like It Best with Mike Valdes. You can
Child Like It Best?
With Mike Valdes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it anywhere podcasts are sold.
Or free.
Or free, yeah.
Because if you're selling a podcast, it's hard enough to get people to listen for free.
I know. Trust me, I know. So, and then my
what's the podcast about? What's the
we talk about childhood, and because I really think that that talking about who you were as a child and the things that you really liked and your hopes and aspirations are really kind of the reason why you are who you are now in a lot of ways.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we kind of go through your journey from childhood to what you do now, and then we review cereal on every episode. That's like our little niche thing that we do. And yeah,
like breakfast cereal or like the other podcast?
No, yeah, we review cereal, the podcast.
I swear to God, I thought that's what you were talking about, and I was like, I don't really listen to that podcast. So I don't know if I want to be on your podcast because I don't listen to that podcast.
Cereal, like the kind that you eat.
Okay, morning cereal. Right.
Exactly.
Yo, did you know you can buy bags of Just Lucky Charms marshmallows?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cereal that I just bought. If anyone's a Parks and Rec fan, I got Sweetums cereal.
Oh, what? Shit!
And it's just marshmallows.
That's amazing.
So it's amazing. I get all kinds of weird cereal. I like to review cereal that has something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, so I have that. I'm also a musician. I have an album with my band, Mike Valdes and the Noise. It's called Dreamer. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. And yeah, go to @Mike Valdes on Twitter and Instagram, whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question, and that's it.
Nice, man. Jeff, you're on the current Crit or Die episode?
Yeah, we just released a new episode of Crit or Die. For those that don't know, the board gaming podcast. We play board games and review them so you can know what games to spend money on and which ones not to. We just did Jurassic Park, the board game, and Jaws, the board game.
Right.
That was the next episode. And it's cool. I'm also now on Bruncheons and Dragons, the D&D podcast that they do.
Nice.
I'm just started. We just recorded my first intro episode. There's still a while before they release this episode, but started doing that. So that we'll announce that when that episode's supposed to air. And then a bunch of other podcasts with you guys.
Yeah,
on the network.
So make sure you guys check that out. And then my comedy, Mike and I have a show at the Miami Improv the day before this releases, so that you're not going to hear about it, you're not going to know about it, or get a chance to go.
DeLorean.
You could I'll also be headlining the Miami Improv on September 12th, which is a Thursday night. So make sure you guys go check that out. It's MiamiImprov.com. Get your tickets online. It's MiamiImprov.com, the new one in the row. So check that out. You could also check out my website at whatwashisname.com, and then check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network, including Zeros on Hero, Shiver, which we got to be doing an episode soon, I think.
Yeah.
And then
the next movie we already picked. The next movie is Demon Knight.
Okay, because we still haven't done the ones.
Oh my God, Tales from the Crypt.
Guess who picked that one, DiBona? Neri's never seen it, and neither has Neri or Dave have never seen it.
For the listening person,
Yeah.
he's pointing at
Dave
himself.
has never
and
seen
no one
Demon
can see
Knight?
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is an audio format.
That's true.
Yeah, so Jeff is pointing at himself.
Yeah.
I've never seen I've never even heard of it. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's the thing.
All right, but Dave hasn't seen it. That surprises me.
Yep.
Yeah. So then there's the What's Up Bro podcast, the Mamas de Merlot podcast, Comedy Fitness, Talking Geek, Better Let Me Tell You, and of course Morbid Curiosity. So make sure you guys check that out at geekbro.net. That's geekbro.net. Mike, love having you on here, brother. We gotta have you on
Thank
here
you so
more
much for
often.
having
It's
me,
fucking a lot of fun.
Yeah.
DiBona, I love the fact that this is literally, I'm not exaggerating, I got this this mixer 2 months ago, and this is the third time I've gotten to use it because I've been traveling so much. But I love the fact that I get to be able to call my friends and have them on the podcast that I've never been able to do that before. So I hope
Thank you guys so much. I've missed this.
Yeah, man. I hope to God we get you on here more often, man.
We're working on a new wrestling one, Daniel.
So check that out. I would love to have it on, man. So thank you again, DiBona, for coming on, brother. Love you. And
love you, man.
That's how lists are made.